This is an American hero. Bishop Evans, a specialist in the Texas National Guard, and he did something amazing. He sacrificed his life to help a total stranger. He jumped into the Rio Grande River to save someone who looked like they were drowning. He was 22 years old, a field artilleryman. He had served in Iraq and Kuwait. Again, someone was in distress in the water in the very choppy Rio Grande, and he came to the rescue of migrants. The migrants survived, and they were allegedly smuggling drugs. The body was recovered earlier today, and this moment, this ceremony, service members, Border Patrol, very sad, but also beautiful. A soldier died who was doing his duty, and we have a president who's not doing his. You know, Joe Biden took an oath of office. That oath of office is actually very similar to the one that the soldiers have to take. It reads almost the same. Every soldier, every officer, every member of government takes an oath, and they are, with some small variations, essentially the same oath. Now, I'd like to play you something. Joe Biden, the moment he was sworn in, and the moment a group of National Guardsmen were sworn in for their sacred duty. You see, in some ways, it's the same job. Who took their job seriously?
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I state your name. I, Joseph do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
Will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And that I will obey the orders.
And I will obey the orders.
Of the President of the United States.
Of the President of the United States.
And the orders.
And the orders.
Of the officers appointed over me.
Of the officers appointed over me.
According to regulations.
According to regulations.
And the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
And the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
He is not doing his job. He's not living up to that oath. You heard it. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Let's go into the Constitution. It's very specific about what his responsibilities are. Under Article 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. Joe is not doing that. I don't really understand why. I have some theories about globalism and Democrats want the votes, but I can't really understand why he would so obviously shirk his duties, his solemn duties that the men and women on the right perform every single day. What's going on here? What is going on here? Joe Biden is not worthy of this office. Bishop Evans, again, just 22 years old, was completely worthy of his. He lived up to his oath. I don't think Joe Biden, quite frankly, deserves that kind of loyalty. He has it. He's the president. He'll get it. But he's not worthy. Not by a long shot. Some of Joe Biden's emissaries went over to Ukraine. A great deal of fanfare that Tony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense in Ukraine, are they bringing this to a close? No, I don't think so. The fight is not over yet, and these guys just don't have the skill and they don't have the moral authority to bring it to a close, especially Tony Blinken. You think he can really slap around and get the attention of all the guys who are warring over there? This guy, Tony Blinken? No.
All of us together are continuing to take steps to increase the pressure on Russia through additional sanctions, all of which are very actively under discussion. If he's unwilling to stop the aggression, we're going to do them. So we will look at each and every one, decide together with our allies and partners what's most effective, when we should do it, and we'll proceed in that way.
Okay, and I guess we'll say everything in question form because we are just America and we are just one of many partners and we're going to work with them. And I don't think this is going to cut it. All right, it doesn't. He's no Henry Kissinger. You need a guy like Henry Kissinger. All right, you need a geopolitical strategist who's tough. You need an Al Haig, maybe. I don't know. He could get a little carried away. But Blinken is a mess. He's not good. He's not ready for this moment. He is a problem. All right. And guess what? The fake news, they love John McCain, don't they? John McCain told the world about how bad this guy was when he was up for the #2 job at the State Department all the way back in 2014. John McCain had this guy's number.
This individual has actually been dangerous to America and to the young men and women who are fighting and serving it. I'll move on to Afghanistan. Mr. Blinken said, quote, "We've been very clear. We've been consistent. The war will be concluded by the end of 2014. We have a timetable, and that timetable will not change." This is why I'm so worried about him being in the position that he's in.
And now he's in an even higher position. His worries were well-founded. Not only is he bad at this job, Tony Blinken, it looks like he likes to do business deals on the side. Hunter Biden. Yeah, a while back, Hunter Biden, we all know about him, sends the then Deputy Secretary of State, the #2 man in the Obama State Department, an email. Have a few minutes next week to grab a cup of coffee. I know you are impossibly busy, but would like to get your advice on a couple of things. The #2 man of the State Department says absolutely to poor, addicted Hunter, who, of course, is very close to Joe Biden. And that's not right. That's not right. No, by the way, his Secretary of Defense, the one who went with him, not much better. I'm sorry, but these guys blew it before, during, and after Afghanistan. I can't imagine this guy on the world stage. He can't handle the reporter from Reuters.
We intend to send forces outside of the airfield to collect up American citizens or Afghans. But we will continue to coordinate and deconflict with the Taliban. Of course, we also were in support of the state-led SIV applicant process.
Are you serious? This is not leadership. This is bad. This is weak. This is beneath America, both from him, Blinken, and of course, Joe. All right. Now, this is a less important matter, but it caught my attention over the weekend. You know, there's a new book out about Jill Biden. Jill, a biography of a first lady. Now, I'm no Jill Biden student or scholar or expert in her comings and goings, but I know a couple of things because I've been watching the news and listening over the years, and I know that there are major holes in their story and also in this book. Here's how they met, by the way, officially.
Fascinated by this story that he basically got his eyes on you when he saw a picture of you in an advertisement. Is this true?
Well, part of it is true. I had met him once before, and but we were in a crowd, and it was at a fundraiser, and so then I guess he saw my picture somewhere, and he said, "Oh, now that's the kind of girl I'd like to date." And I knew his brother, so his brother said, "Oh, I know her," because I was in college at the time and his brother was there, and so Frank called me and or got my number, and Joe called and said, "You know, this is Joe Biden, and would you like to go out?" And
where was your first date?
We went to Philadelphia to the movies.
Do you remember the film?
No, I don't.
Look, I don't mean to nitpick, but I don't believe her. My parents, their first movie was Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock. They actually went to Psycho. I know that. It's family lore. In the book, they know the movie. In the book, the movie is mentioned. Is this a small thing? Keen to enjoy their evening without the peering eyes of the Delaware press, Joe and Jill drove to Philadelphia for dinner and a movie. The French film A Man and a Woman was about a relationship that forms in the shadow of lost spouses. All right, now I am going to nitpick here. Their first date was in 1975. That movie came out in 1966. I mean, maybe it was one of those art theaters and they were re-showing it, right? More from the book, the new biography about Jill Biden. Jill's husband, Bill Stevenson, yes, she was married before, was one of those young people excited about the prospect of a senator from their generation. Jill's dining room was stacked with Biden campaign literature for Bill to distribute. Next, we have Bill wanted to go to the party to celebrate the state's newly elected senator. Yeah, this is when they won. He needed to convince his wife to join him, so he promised her dinner at a restaurant across the street that she loved. She acquiesced. Then Jill and Bill went to dinner, gone by the time Joe gave his acceptance speech. All right, one more thing. Jill made her way over to shake Nelia's hand, Joe's first wife. Congratulations, she said. Problem is, this is not how Bill Stevenson, Jill's husband, tells the story. He says they very much had a relationship when Bill was still married to Jill. I'm sorry, I know it happens to good people all the time and people make mistakes, but why whitewash this? Here's Bill Stevenson again, Jill Biden's first husband, back in 2020.
So you were friends with Joe Biden?
Oh, yeah. Right before the election in '72, Jill, Joe, Nelia, and I were in his kitchen. How do you forget that?
Stevenson says his first inkling something was up came when Jill refused to go with him to meet Bruce Springsteen, who was booked to appear at the Stone Balloon.
He said, Joe asked me to keep an eye on the boys. And I just thought to the back of my mind,
One day, he says a man came into his bar and asked him to pay damages for a fender bender that involved Jill.
He looks at me and he says, oh, she wasn't driving. I said, her beloved Corvette, she wasn't driving it? He goes, Senator Biden was driving it. And I went, what?
And then he knew. Look, seems like a nice guy, by the way, really nice guy. This happens to real people. Things happen in life. I'm actually not judging anybody. I'm more judging the fake news here. Now, this book was written by a major reporter from the Associated Press. Her name is Julie Pace. And why wouldn't she include this information? She's writing a book. I know about it. And she doesn't put it in the book? This guy spoke on television. It's not in the book. And she is an Associated Press executive, something or other. Isn't that right, Chris Wallace?
Julie Pace making her first appearance here in her big new job as executive editor for the entire whole worldwide Associated Press.
Wow. But I guess she basically serves as a ghostwriter slash promoter, propagandist for the Bidens. I almost really don't blame her so much. Well, I do a little bit, because this book seems to be not a book you write about a sitting first lady. I'm sorry, and there's a lot more going on for the executive editor of the Associated Press, whatever she does. But Joe, and to a lesser extent Jill, are dishonest people. They've been dishonest. And Joe is notorious, legendary, for looking right at people and lying like crazy.
What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom two-thirds of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
And he's so smug. He's so happy with himself, but everything he just said was untrue. So bad that he had to drop out of the race. Because back then, the media, they weren't afraid of catching Democrats in lies.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
Is this the guy who could ever live up to an oath of office, a solemn promise? Of course not. And we're all seeing it. And the consequences are absolutely devastating for all of us, but particularly for that 22-year-old soldier this weekend.